My name is Juliana and I am 31 years old. Today I run a successful interior design firm, but my journey here has been paved with betrayal and heartbreak. 8 years ago, my sister Sophia framed me for theft, causing my family to disown me. Now, after all this time, they are begging for my help. The emotions swirling inside me are complex: anger, pain, curiosity. Before I tell you how my own sister destroyed my life and how I rebuilt it from ashes, let me know where you are watching from. Hit that like and subscribe button while I gather the courage to revisit my darkest memories. Growing up, I thought I had the perfect family. My father, James, was a hardworking accountant who always made time for family dinners. My mother, Margaret, was a dedicated high school teacher who somehow managed to keep our home running smoothly. Then there was my sister Sophia, 5 years younger than me, with her bright smile that could charm anyone. From the outside, we looked like the ideal American family living in a comfortable suburban home with a white picket fence. Sunday dinners were sacred in our household. We would gather around the oak dining table that had been in our family for generations, sharing stories from our week while enjoying my mom's famous pot roast. Those memories still bring a smile to my face even after everything that happened. But beneath the surface, things were never truly equal between Sophia and me. As the oldest child, I was always expected to be the responsible one. Get good grades, help around the house, set a good example for your sister. The pressure was constant, but I rose to the challenge because I wanted to make my parents proud. Juliana always knows what to do, my father would say, his eyes filled with pride. Those moments were everything to me. The way he believed in me gave me confidence to pursue my dreams. Meanwhile, Sophia was the baby of the family. She could do no wrong in their eyes. When she broke my mother's favorite vase while running through the house, despite being repeatedly told not to, she got away with a gentle reminder to be more careful. When I accidentally stained the carpet with paint during an art project, I was grounded for a week. "She is younger, Juliana. You need to understand," my mother would say whenever I pointed out the unfairness. So I tried to understand. I tried to be the bigger person even when it hurt. Despite the different standards, I loved my family deeply. When I got accepted to a prestigious interior design school on a partial scholarship, my parents were thrilled. My father especially beamed with pride during my high school graduation. "You are going to change the world with your designs, Julie," he said, using his special nickname for me. Those words carried me through many difficult days in college. Even while away at school, I made it a point to come home at least once a month. I would help my mom with household chores and spend quality time with my dad watching old Western movies, his favorite genre. Sophia, however, seemed increasingly distant during these visits. She would barely acknowledge my presence, often making excuses to leave the house when I arrived. There was one particular family treasure that held special significance to us all, especially to my father: a diamond ring that had belonged to my grandmother and her mother before that. It was not particularly large or flashy, but its sentimental value was immeasurable. The ring was kept in a small velvet box in my parents' bedroom. "One day, this will be yours, Juliana," my father told me on my 20th birthday, showing me the ring but carefully placing it back in its box. "When you turn 25, it will be time to pass it on, as is our family tradition." The thought of receiving such a meaningful heirloom filled me with emotion. Not because of its monetary value, but because it represented my connection to generations of strong women in our family. What I did not realize then was how much this tradition bothered Sophia. Looking back, I can see the signs of trouble brewing. The way Sophia would roll her eyes whenever our parents praised my accomplishments, the small lies she would tell to get me in trouble, the items from my room that would mysteriously disappear only to reappear in common areas, making it seem like I was careless. "Did you leave your bracelet in the bathroom again? Someone could slip and get hurt." My mother scolded me once, though I was certain I had left it on my nightstand. Sophia would simply watch these interactions with a slight smile, never saying a word in my defense. At the time, I chalked it up to normal sibling rivalry. I thought we would grow out of it as we got older. I was wrong. So very wrong. Each time I visited home during college, I noticed my clothes being moved around as if someone had been trying them on. When I mentioned it to my parents, they dismissed it as me being forgetful or overly sensitive. College must be stressful if you are worrying about such small things, my mother would say, effectively ending the conversation. Meanwhile, Sophia was thriving in high school, captain of the cheerleading team, honor roll student, prom queen. My parents attended every game, every ceremony, showering her with praise. Their refrigerator was covered with her photos and achievements. My college dean's list certificates were tucked away in a drawer. Still, I remained hopeful that our relationship would improve. I continued to buy her thoughtful birthday gifts and send her encouraging text messages about her accomplishments. Most went unanswered, but I persisted. Family was family after all. If only I had known then what lurked beneath her perfect smile. If only I had recognized the jealousy that was festering into something much more dangerous. But I was blinded by my love for my family and my desire to believe the best about them. Little did I know that the foundation of trust I had built with my family over 23 years was about to come crashing down because of one carefully orchestrated betrayal. The moment everything changed was during my parents' 30th wedding anniversary. I had taken a week off work to help organize a surprise party at our family home. Despite our differences, Sophia and I worked together to create the perfect celebration. At least that is what I thought we were doing. "I am so glad you are here, Jules," Sophia said, using my family nickname for the first time in years. "I could not have planned this without you." Her sudden warmth should have been my first warning sign. Sophia had not shown genuine interest in spending time with me since middle school. But I was so happy to have my sister back that I ignored the voice in my head telling me something was off. The anniversary celebration was scheduled for Saturday evening with close family and friends invited to our home for dinner and dancing. I spent Friday decorating the house with photos from my parents' 3 decades together, while Sophia handled the catering arrangements. "This looks amazing," she gushed, examining my photo display. "You always had an eye for design." Again, the compliment felt strange coming from her, but I welcomed it. Perhaps she had finally matured beyond our childhood rivalry. That evening, our parents returned from what they thought was a regular dinner date to find their home transformed and filled with their favorite people. My mother cried tears of joy when she saw her sister who had flown in from Arizona. My father hugged me so tightly I could barely breathe. "My girls pulled this off together," he announced proudly to the guests, his arms around both Sophia and me. "Nothing makes me happier than seeing you two working as a team." The party was a success. Good food, heartfelt toasts, and even some dancing in our cleared-out living room. Around midnight, the last guests left, and our exhausted but happy parents headed to bed, thanking us once more for the perfect celebration. "This has been the best anniversary gift," my mother said, kissing both of our foreheads like she used to when we were children. I went to bed feeling hopeful about my relationship with Sophia. Maybe this was the beginning of a new chapter for us. The next morning, I woke to the sound of frantic movement. Drawers opening and closing, furniture being moved, urgent voices. I hurried downstairs to find my mother in tears and my father looking more stressed than I had ever seen him. "What is going on?" I asked, still groggy from sleep. "The ring is missing," my mother said, her voice trembling. "Your grandmother's diamond ring. I was going to wear it today for our anniversary brunch, but it is gone." The gravity of the situation hit me immediately. That ring was not just valuable in monetary terms, it was irreplaceable to our family. My father looked devastated. "We have looked everywhere," he said, running his hand through his thinning hair. "It was in its box in our dresser drawer last week when I showed it to your mother." Sophia came downstairs, then still in her pajamas, looking concerned. "What is happening? Why is everyone up so early?" After being told about the missing ring, she immediately joined the search. We turned the house upside down, checking every drawer, every pocket, every corner where the ring might have fallen. After 2 hours of searching, my mother sat down on the couch, defeated. It could not have just disappeared. Someone must have taken it. The room fell silent. The implication was clear, but no one wanted to say it out loud. Could someone in the family have stolen the ring? The thought was unthinkable. "Maybe we should check our bags and rooms," Sophia suggested softly. "Just to be thorough, I am sure it will turn up." My father nodded grimly. "That is a good idea. We all know the ring is too important to this family to remain missing." We started with the common areas of the house, then moved to each bedroom. When it came time to search my overnight bag, I handed it over without hesitation. I had nothing to hide. My mother carefully went through the contents of my bag while I stood watching. Clothes, toiletries, my laptop, a book I was reading. Nothing unusual. She was about to zip it back up when Sophia spoke. "Wait, what about that inner pocket? Did you check there?" My mother looked where Sophia was pointing and reached into a small zippered compartment I rarely used. Her hand emerged holding the velvet box that contained our family's diamond ring. The room went completely still. I felt like I could not breathe. My mother's face drained of color as she opened the box to confirm that the ring was indeed inside. "I did not put that there," I said immediately, my voice sounding strange to my own ears. "I swear I would never take the ring." My father's face hardened in a way I had never seen before. "Then how did it get in your bag, Juliana?" "I do not know," I said desperately, looking from him to my mother, then to Sophia. That is when I caught it just for a second. A fleeting smile on my sister's face before she composed herself into a mask of shock and disappointment. "Sophia, did you put the ring in my bag?" I asked directly, suddenly understanding what was happening. Her eyes widened with well-practiced innocence. "How could you say that? Are you trying to blame me for your actions?" My father stepped between us. "That is enough, Juliana. Do not try to drag your sister into this." "Dad, please," I begged. "I would never steal from you, especially not something so important. You have to believe me." But I could see in his eyes that he did not. The father who had always believed in me, who had been my greatest supporter, was looking at me like I was a stranger, a thief, someone who had betrayed his trust in the worst possible way. My mother was quietly crying, still holding the ring box. "Why would you do this, Juliana? If you wanted to see the ring or wear it, you could have just asked." "I did not take it," I insisted, tears streaming down my face now. "Please, you have to believe me." But they did not. Despite years of trust and honesty between us, they chose to believe what the evidence suggested, rather than what their daughter was telling them. "I think you should leave," my father said finally, his voice cold and unfamiliar. "Take your things and go back to your apartment. We need some time to process this." "Dad, no," I pleaded. "Mom, please listen to me." My mother could not even look at me. She turned away, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. Sophia stepped forward and put an arm around her, casting a sad look in my direction that only I could see was filled with triumph. With my family united against me, I had no choice. I packed my things, the same bag where the ring had mysteriously appeared, now feeling tainted. As I headed for the door, I turned back one last time. "I love you all. I would never hurt you like this. Someday you will know the truth." No one responded. No one even looked at me. I walked out of my childhood home feeling like I was leaving a part of myself behind. I did not know then that it would be years before I would step foot in that house again. The drive back to my apartment was a blur. Tears clouded my vision so badly that I had to pull over several times to collect myself. By the time I arrived home, I felt hollow, like someone had scooped out everything inside me and left just a shell. My roommate Jessica took one look at my face and knew something was terribly wrong. "What happened? You were not supposed to be back until tomorrow." The whole story came pouring out between sobs. The anniversary celebration, the missing ring, the discovery in my bag, and my family's cold rejection. Jessica listened without interrupting, her face growing increasingly concerned. "That is insane," she said when I finished. "Your sister must have planted it there. Why would you steal something you were going to inherit anyway?" Her logic was sound, but logic had no place in what had just happened. My family had made their judgment, and I was guilty in their eyes. Over the next few weeks, I tried desperately to fix things. I called my parents' house multiple times a day, but no one ever answered. I left voicemails explaining my innocence, begging them to reconsider, to at least talk to me. Nothing but silence in return. I sent heartfelt letters pouring my soul onto paper, promising that I had not taken the ring, and suggesting that we sit down as a family to figure out what really happened. These letters were returned unopened with "Return to sender" scrawled across the envelopes in my father's handwriting. After a month of failed attempts at communication, I decided to go to their house in person. I drove the 2 hours after work one Friday, rehearsing what I would say the entire way. But when I arrived, no one answered the door, though both my parents' cars were in the driveway. I stood on the porch where I had played as a child, knocking until my knuckles hurt, calling out to the people who had raised me, who now refused to even acknowledge my existence. A neighbor came out to check what was happening. "They said to tell you they are not home if you showed up," she told me awkwardly. "I am sorry, Juliana." The humiliation of that moment burned through me. My own family was hiding from me, treating me like an unwelcome stranger. Meanwhile, I discovered that Sophia was actively working to ensure my isolation was complete. Through mutual friends, I learned that she was telling extended family members and childhood friends that I had a problem with taking things that did not belong to me. She dredged up incidents from our childhood, twisting them to support her narrative. The time I borrowed her sweater without asking became, "Juliana always stole my clothes." The misunderstanding about a shared birthday gift became, "She took credit for my present to Mom." Small, normal sibling squabbles were transformed into evidence of my supposed criminal tendencies. Our cousin Taylor called me uncomfortable but determined to get to the bottom of things. "Sophia told everyone at the family reunion that you have been stealing from the family for years, that the ring was just the final straw. Is that true?" "Of course not," I said, grateful that at least someone was willing to hear my side. "I never took that ring, Taylor. I was being set up." There was a pause on the line. "I want to believe you, Jules. But why would Sophia make something like this up? And why would your parents side with her if it was not true?" I had no good answer for that. Why indeed? Why would my sister destroy my relationship with our family? Why would my parents so easily believe the worst about their daughter, who had never given them reason to doubt her honesty? The fallout continued to spread. I was no longer invited to family gatherings. Holidays came and went without a word from anyone. My birthday passed without the traditional call from my parents. It was as if I had died, except I was still here feeling every painful moment of their rejection. The emotional toll began to affect other areas of my life. I struggled to focus at work, making careless mistakes that earned me a formal warning from my boss. My appetite disappeared, and I lost weight that I could not afford to lose. Sleep became elusive, replaced by nights spent crying or staring at old family photos, wondering where it all went so wrong. Jessica convinced me to see a therapist after I spent an entire weekend in bed, unable to find the energy or will to get up. Dr. Patel was kind, but direct. "What your family has done is emotional abandonment," she told me during our first session. "The betrayal you feel is valid, but you cannot let it consume you." I started seeing her weekly, trying to process the grief of losing my family while they were still alive. It was harder in some ways than dealing with death, because there was no closure, just ongoing rejection and the constant question of, what if? What if I had noticed Sophia's jealousy earlier? What if I had checked my bag before handing it over? What if I had been a better sister somehow? The thoughts circled endlessly, keeping me trapped in a loop of self-doubt and pain. The lowest point came about 6 months after the incident. I received a Christmas card addressed to my apartment. For one brief shining moment, I thought it might be from my parents, a first step toward reconciliation. Instead, it was a family photo card from my parents and Sophia smiling in matching sweaters in front of their Christmas tree. No message, no signature, just the printed "Happy Holidays" from the Williams family. I was not in the photo. I was not even mentioned. The message was clear. Life had gone on without me. I was no longer part of the Williams family. That night, I hit rock bottom. The pain was too much to bear. I called Dr. Patel's emergency line, sobbing so hard she could barely understand me. She talked me through the worst of it, and the next day arranged for me to join a support group for adults dealing with family estrangement. In that circle of strangers who understood my pain, I began to see that I was not alone. Others had survived similar betrayals. They had rebuilt their lives. Slowly, I began to believe that maybe I could too. 2 years after my family disowned me, fate intervened in an unexpected way. I was sitting alone in a coffee shop on a Saturday morning reviewing designs for a client when someone approached my table. "Juliana, is that you?" I looked up to see Amanda, one of Sophia's friends from high school. We had never been close, but I recognized her immediately. My heart raced with anxiety. Would she berate me in public? Accuse me of being a thief like everyone else had? "Amanda?" I said cautiously. "How are you?" She hesitated, shifting uncomfortably from one foot to another. "I am good. Do you mind if I sit for a minute?" Surprised, I gestured to the empty chair across from me. She sat down, fidgeting with her coffee cup, clearly nervous about something. "I have been wanting to talk to you for a while," she finally said. "About what happened with your family." My defenses immediately went up. "If you are here to tell me what a terrible person I am, save your breath. I have heard it all before." "No, that is not it at all," she said quickly. "Actually, I wanted to tell you that I know you did not steal that ring." The world seemed to stop. After 2 years of denials, of no one believing me, here was someone saying they knew I was innocent. I could barely process her words. "What do you mean? How would you know that?" Amanda took a deep breath. "Because Sophia told me about her plan before she did it. She was drunk at a party about a week before your parents' anniversary. She was bragging about how she was going to get back at you for always being the favorite child." My hands began to shake. "She actually admitted she was going to frame me." Amanda nodded, looking ashamed. "She said she was going to take your grandmother's ring and make it look like you stole it. I thought she was just talking, venting about sibling stuff. I never thought she would actually go through with it." "Why are you telling me this now?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "It has been 2 years. I ran into your cousin Taylor last month. She told me what happened to you, how your whole family cut you off. I had no idea it had gone that far. I have felt guilty ever since, knowing what I know." She paused. "I should have said something sooner. I am sorry." A mix of emotions flooded through me: validation that I had been right all along, rage at what Sophia had done, and a desperate hope that this might be the key to reuniting with my parents. "Did Sophia ever say anything else about it? Do you have any proof, text messages or anything?" I asked urgently. Amanda frowned. "She did text me a photo of the ring before everything went down. She said something like, 'Operation Payback is almost ready,' or something similar. But that was years ago, and I got a new phone since then." My heart sank. Without concrete proof, it would be my word against Sophia's again. And we already knew who my family would believe. "But," Amanda continued, "I am not the only one who knows. Sophia told Katie Thompson too. They are not friends anymore, but Katie might be willing to talk to you." It was a small thread of hope, but I clung to it desperately. Amanda gave me Katie's contact information, and we parted with her, promising to think about whether there might be any other evidence she could remember. I called Katie that same day. At first, she was reluctant to get involved, but eventually agreed to meet. She confirmed what Amanda had told me. Sophia had indeed planned the whole thing, motivated by years of jealousy and a particular resentment about the diamond ring that would one day be mine. "She always felt like your parents loved you more," Katie explained. "The ring was just the final straw for her. She could not stand that you were getting this family heirloom when she felt she deserved it more." Armed with the statements from both Amanda and Katie, I decided to confront Sophia directly. We arranged to meet at a public park with Amanda present as a witness. I was a bundle of nerves as I waited on a bench watching children play on the swings nearby, their carefree laughter a stark contrast to the heaviness in my heart. Sophia arrived looking confident and annoyed. "What is this about Juliana? I am very busy these days." "I know what you did," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "I know you planted the ring in my bag. Amanda told me everything." Sophia's eyes flicked to Amanda, who was standing a few feet away, then back to me. "I do not know what you are talking about. Are you still trying to blame me for your theft?" "Stop lying, Sophia," Amanda called out. "You told me your plan before you did it. You were proud of it." For a moment, Sophia's mask slipped, and I saw the truth in her eyes. But she quickly recovered, her face hardening. "This is ridiculous. I am not going to stand here and be accused of things I did not do." "Why did you do it?" I pressed. "Was it really worth destroying our family?" "Our family is fine," she snapped. "Better actually, without your perfect presence making everyone else feel inadequate." "So you admit it?" I asked, my heart pounding. Sophia took a step toward me, her voice dropping to a harsh whisper. You always got everything. Dad's approval, Mom's attention, their pride. That ring should have been mine. You were going to inherit this precious family heirloom when you do not even care about family legacy. You moved away. You put your career first. So you decided to punish me by taking away the people I love most, I said, understanding finally dawning. All because of jealousy. You deserved it, she hissed, then seemed to realize what she had admitted. Her eyes widened and she quickly backtracked. I mean, you deserved to lose their trust after what you did. But it was too late. Both Amanda and I had heard her. In her anger, Sophia had revealed the truth. I am going to tell Mom and Dad, I said. They deserve to know what really happened. Sophia laughed, her confidence returning. Go ahead. They will never believe you over me. Not after all this time. They have moved on, Juliana. Maybe you should too. With that, she turned and walked away, leaving me standing there with the truth, but no way to prove it conclusively. Amanda put a comforting hand on my shoulder. I will go with you to talk to your parents, she offered. I will tell them what I know. But when we went to my parents' house later that day, they refused to see us. They would not even open the door. Amanda left a letter explaining everything she had witnessed, but I had little hope it would make a difference. Sophia had poisoned them against me too thoroughly. I drove home that night feeling both vindicated and defeated. I finally had confirmation that I had been right all along, but it changed nothing about my situation. My family was still lost to me. After the failed confrontation with Sophia and my parents' continued rejection, I made a life-changing decision. If I could not recover my old life, I would build a new one so fulfilling that the absence of my biological family would not leave such a gaping hole. I threw myself into therapy with renewed commitment. Doctor Patel helped me work through the anger and betrayal, not to forget it, but to keep it from consuming me. Your story does not end with what was done to you, she reminded me often. It continues with what you choose to do next. I chose to focus on my career with laser-like precision. The interior design firm where I worked became my sanctuary. I volunteered for challenging projects, worked longer hours, and poured all my creative energy into my designs. My boss noticed the change. Whatever lit a fire under you, I am impressed, she told me after I successfully completed a difficult commercial project that other designers had shied away from. Keep this up, and you will be on the fast track to a senior position. Within a year, I was promoted to senior designer. My client list grew, as did my confidence. I started developing a distinctive style that blended functionality with unexpected touches of whimsy. Design magazines took notice, and I was featured in a Designers to Watch article. Then came the opportunity that would change everything. A wealthy client who had been impressed with my work on his office approached me about designing his new vacation home. It was a massive project with a generous budget and complete creative freedom. I want something that will take my breath away every time I walk through the door, he told me. I poured everything into that project, working nights and weekends. The result was beyond even my own expectations. When it was featured in Architectural Digest, other high-profile clients began requesting me specifically. My boss called me into her office one afternoon. I feared I had done something wrong, but instead she offered me a partnership track. It was an incredible opportunity, but as I sat there listening to the terms, a different idea began to form in my mind. I am deeply honored, I told her. But I think it might be time for me to start my own firm. It was a terrifying leap, but somehow, after surviving the worst betrayal imaginable, starting a business seemed less daunting. I had already lost everything once and survived. What was there to fear now? I named my company Phoenix Designs, a personal reminder that I had risen from the ashes of my old life. Starting with the contacts I had built over the years, I slowly built a reputation for creating spaces that were both beautiful and deeply personal to each client. The first year was difficult. There were moments of doubt when I wondered if I had made a terrible mistake. But gradually, projects began to come in more steadily. By the end of the second year, I had to hire 2 junior designers to help with the workload. While my professional life flourished, I also worked on building a new support network. Jessica remained my rock, but I also connected with others who became like family to me. There was Marco, a contractor I frequently worked with who became a trusted friend. Hannah, a client turned confidant who invited me to holidays when she learned I had nowhere to go. Devin, a fellow member of my support group who understood the unique pain of family estrangement. These people became my chosen family. We celebrated birthdays and holidays together. They supported my business ventures and cheered my successes. They offered shoulders to cry on during the inevitable moments when grief for my lost family would overwhelm me. Then I met Michael. He was an architect whose firm I collaborated with on a boutique hotel project. Talented, kind, and with a quiet sense of humor that drew me in despite my carefully constructed emotional walls. After months of professional interaction, he finally asked me to dinner. "Just to be clear, this is not about work," he said with a smile. "This is me asking you on a date because I think you are extraordinary." Dating had been the furthest thing from my mind for years. The betrayal by my family had left me wary of letting anyone get too close. But something about Michael's straightforward kindness made me say yes. Our relationship developed slowly. I was cautious about revealing my past, afraid that the story of my family's rejection might make him see me differently. When I finally told him everything 6 months into our relationship, his response brought tears to my eyes. "They lost someone incredible when they chose not to believe you," he said, holding my hands tightly. "Their loss, my gain." With Michael's support, I began to share my story more openly. Not to gain sympathy, but to connect with others who might be experiencing similar pain. I started volunteering at a community center mentoring young adults who were estranged from their families for various reasons. "You cannot choose the family you are born into," I would tell them, "but you can create a family of people who truly see and value you." As Phoenix Designs flourished, I expanded into a proper office space with a small but talented team. 5 years after being disowned by my family, I was featured on the cover of a national design magazine as one of the industry's rising stars. The article mentioned my philosophy of creating spaces that feel like home, in the truest sense, a place of belonging and authenticity. What the article did not mention was that I had learned about true belonging the hard way by losing my first home and having to build a new one from scratch, not just physically, but emotionally. Life was not perfect. There were still nights when I would look at old family photos and feel the ache of what I had lost. Holidays could be particularly difficult, even surrounded by my chosen family. But I had built a life I was proud of, one that was authentically mine. I had proven mostly to myself that I was stronger than the betrayal that had nearly broken me. I thought I had finally made peace with my past. Then, 8 years after I walked out of my childhood home for the last time, an email arrived that would force me to confront everything again. It was an ordinary Tuesday when the email arrived. I was reviewing fabric samples in my office, trying to decide between two nearly identical shades of blue for a client's living room, when my phone chimed with a notification. The sender's name made my heart stop. Margaret Williams, my mother. After 8 years of silence, she had reached out. My hands trembled so badly I could barely tap to open the message. "Juliana," it began. No dear or any term of endearment. Just my name, stark and formal. "I know we have no right to contact you after everything that happened, but your father is very ill. He has been diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The doctors give him only months. This is not the only reason I am writing, though it would be enough. The truth is, we are in serious financial trouble. Your sister Sophia convinced us to invest most of our savings and even take out a second mortgage on the house for a business venture she was involved in. The business never materialized, and the money is gone. Sophia has disappeared. We cannot reach her. Your father needs specialized treatment that our insurance will not fully cover. We are at risk of losing the house. I would not ask if there was any other option. If you could find it in your heart to help, or even just to visit your father before it is too late, please consider it. I understand if you refuse. Margaret." I read the email 3 times, emotions swirling so violently I felt physically ill. My father was dying. My sister had stolen from our parents and abandoned them. They were turning to me, the daughter they had cast aside in their moment of desperation. Part of me wanted to delete the email and block the sender. After years of unanswered calls, returned letters, and closed doors, why should I respond to their crisis? They had chosen to believe Sophia over me. They had cut me out of their lives without even allowing me to properly defend myself. Did they only want me back now because Sophia had shown her true colors and they needed financial help? I forwarded the email to Michael, adding only, "I do not know what to do." He called me immediately. "Are you okay?" His voice was steady, concerned. "I do not know," I admitted. "I feel angry and sad and confused all at once." "That is understandable. This is a lot to process. Do you want me to come over tonight so we can talk about it?" I did. Michael arrived at my apartment with takeout from my favorite Thai restaurant, though I had little appetite. We sat on my couch as I poured out all my conflicted feelings. "They are only reaching out because they need something from me," I said bitterly. "If Sophia had not stolen their money, if Dad was not sick, would they ever have contacted me?" "Probably not," Michael acknowledged. He never sugarcoated things, which was one of the reasons I trusted him so deeply. "But the question is, what do you want to do now that they have—" "I do not know," I confessed. Part of me wants to ignore them, to let them face the consequences of choosing Sophia over me all those years ago. And the other part, I sighed. The other part remembers that they are still my parents, that I loved them for 23 years before everything fell apart, that my dad is dying. My voice broke on the last word. Michael took my hand. "Whatever you decide, I will support you. But I want you to make the decision that will bring you peace, not the one made purely from anger or purely from obligation." I called my therapist the next morning and scheduled an emergency session. Dr. Patel listened as I explained the situation. "What are you most afraid of if you agree to help them?" she asked. I had to think about that. That they still will not believe me about what happened. That they will take my help but continue to treat me like the villain in this story. And if you do not help them, that I will regret it forever once my father is gone. That I will wonder if we could have reconciled before it was too late. Dr. Patel nodded thoughtfully. "It sounds like either path has potential for pain. The question becomes, which pain can you better live with?" After days of soul-searching and discussions with the people I trusted most, I made my decision. I would go see my parents, but I would set clear boundaries. This was not about forgiveness or forgetting what had happened. It was about not letting anger determine my actions. I replied to my mother's email with a simple message: "I will come this weekend. We need to talk about everything that happened, not just the current situation." The drive to my childhood home was surreal. The familiar streets brought back a flood of memories, both good and painful. The house itself looked different. The paint was peeling, the garden my mother had once tended so carefully was overgrown, and there was a general air of neglect that had never been present in my youth. I sat in my car for several minutes, gathering my courage. Finally, I walked up to the front door and rang the bell, my heart pounding so loudly I was sure it could be heard from inside. The door opened, and there stood my mother. 8 years had aged her more than time alone should have. Her hair was completely gray now, her face lined with worry, her posture stooped as if under a great weight. "Juliana," she said, her voice wavering. "You came." For a moment we stood there awkwardly, neither knowing quite what to do. Then to my surprise, she began to cry. Not the quiet, dignified tears I remembered from my childhood, but deep, racking sobs that shook her entire body. "I am so sorry," she managed between breaths. "So very sorry." Despite everything, I found myself reaching out to steady her. She clutched my arm like a lifeline. "Let us go inside," I said gently. "We have a lot to talk about." The interior of the house was as neglected as the outside. Family photos still lined the walls, though I noticed I was absent from any taken in the last 8 years. It was like looking at the life that had continued without me. "Your father is resting," my mother said, leading me to the living room. "The treatments exhaust him, but he will want to see you when he wakes up." We sat across from each other, the coffee table between us, like a demilitarized zone. "I got your email," I said. "You mentioned Sophia took your money." My mother's face crumpled. "She convinced us to invest in a friend's startup, said it was a sure thing that we would double our investment within a year. Your father trusted her completely." She paused. "We both did." The irony was almost too much to bear. Like you trusted her when she framed me for stealing the ring. My mother flinched but did not deny it. About 6 months after you left, strange things started happening. Small amounts of money missing from our accounts. Items disappearing from the house. We confronted Sophia and she always had explanations. We believed her until… Until what? I pressed. Until she left with the investment money and stopped answering our calls. She sent a text about a month ago saying she was sorry, but she had gotten in over her head with some bad people. That is the last we heard from her. I absorbed this information feeling a complex mix of vindication and sadness. So you finally realized she was capable of lying and stealing. My mother looked down at her hands. We knew before that, actually. 2 years ago, Sophia confessed about the ring. The revelation hit me like a physical blow. 2 years ago, you have known for 2 years that I was innocent, and you never contacted me until now. We were ashamed, my mother whispered. How could we face you after what we had done, after we chose to believe the worst about you instead of trusting the daughter who had never given us reason to doubt her? I stood up, needing to move to process this new information. So for 2 additional years, you let me think my family still believed I was a thief. Do you have any idea what that did to me? The therapy I needed, the nights I cried myself to sleep. There is no excuse, my mother admitted. We were cowards. Your father wanted to reach out so many times, but we convinced ourselves that you were better off without us, that we had damaged the relationship beyond repair. That should have been my choice to make, I said, my voice rising despite my efforts to stay calm. You took away my family, and then you took away my chance to reconcile once you knew the truth. A weak voice came from the doorway. She is right, Margaret. We had no right. I turned to see my father standing there, leaning heavily on a walker. The strong, vibrant man I remembered was gone, replaced by someone who looked decades older than his actual age. Thin, pale, with sunken cheeks and yellowed skin. Cancer had ravaged him. Dad, I said, the word catching in my throat. Juliana, he replied, his eyes filling with tears. My girl, you came. Despite everything, I went to him, helping him to an armchair. The familiar scent of his aftershave brought back a rush of memories, making my chest ache with grief for all the years we had lost. Once he was settled, he reached for my hand. I let him take it, though part of me wanted to pull away. I need to say this while I still can. He began, his voice frail but determined. I failed you as a father. I should have believed you. I should have known my own daughter better than to think she would steal from us. Why did not you? I asked, the question that had haunted me for 8 years finally spoken aloud. He looked away, ashamed. Because it was easier to believe the evidence in front of us than to consider that one of our children would deliberately frame the other. Because Sophia had been spinning stories about you for years, small things that seemed insignificant at the time, but built a foundation of doubt. Because I was blind to her jealousy and manipulation. He paused, struggling for breath. None of these are good enough reasons. There is no good reason for what we did to you. My mother joined us, sitting on the arm of his chair. When Sophia finally confessed 2 years ago, right before asking for the investment money, we were devastated. She said she had done it because she was jealous of your relationship with your father, of the ring you would inherit. She seemed genuinely remorseful. So you forgave her, I concluded. We tried to, my father admitted. But we also told her she needed to make it right with you. She promised she would reach out to you, explain everything, and then we would all meet to reconcile. Let me guess, I said bitterly. That never happened. No, my mother confirmed. She kept making excuses. Then came the investment opportunity, and after that, well, you know the rest. We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of years of deception and lost time hanging between us. Why are you telling me all this now? I finally asked. Is it just because you need my financial help? My father looked directly into my eyes. We are telling you because you deserve the truth, regardless of whether you choose to help us. Yes, we are desperate. Yes, we have nowhere else to turn. But even if you walk out that door right now and never look back, you should know that we have regretted what we did every day since we learned the truth. I wanted to stay angry. Anger had protected me for so long. But sitting there looking at my dying father and my broken mother, I felt the anger begin to crack, revealing the deep well of grief beneath it. I built a new life, I told them. I have my own design firm now. Good friends, a wonderful partner. I survived what you did to me. We know, my mother said. We have followed your career from afar. Every time we saw your name in a magazine or online, we were so proud and so ashamed of ourselves. I do not know if I can forgive you, I said honestly. I do not know if things can ever be repaired between us. We do not expect forgiveness, my father said. We do not deserve it. But if you could find it in your heart to allow us even a small place in your life again, it would be more than we have any right to hope for. I looked around the house that had once been my home at the parents who had once been my world. There was still so much pain, so much to process. But there was also the reality of my father's illness, the limited time left to make any kind of peace. I need to think about all this, I said finally. About how to move forward if that is even possible. But I will help with Dad's medical bills, and I will look into what can be done about the house. Not because I have forgotten what happened, but because I refuse to let it determine who I am and what I do now. The relief on their faces was palpable. My father gripped my hand tighter. Thank you, Yuli. You always were the best of us. The old nickname brought fresh tears to my eyes. I stood up, needing space to collect myself. I should go. I will be in touch about the finances, and I will come back to visit soon. As I headed for the door, my mother followed me. Juliana, she said hesitantly, there is something else you should know. The ring, your grandmother's ring. Sophia took it when she left. It is gone along with several other family heirlooms. The final twist of the knife. The ring that had started all this, that should have been mine on my 25th birthday, was now lost forever. I nodded silently, unable to find words for this last betrayal. As I drove away from my childhood home, I felt both heavier and lighter. The truth had finally been acknowledged, but the years lost could never be reclaimed. The path forward was unclear, but for the first time in 8 years at least, there was a path. In the weeks that followed my first visit to my parents' home, I found myself navigating a complex emotional landscape. There was no guidebook for rebuilding a relationship with the family that had disowned you, especially under the shadow of a terminal illness and financial crisis. I kept my word about helping with my father's medical expenses. After reviewing their situation with my financial advisor, I set up a fund specifically for his treatments. I also connected them with a lawyer who specialized in cases of financial fraud, though the chances of recovering any money from Sophia seemed slim. Michael was my rock throughout this process. You are doing this on your terms, he reminded me when I questioned my decisions. That makes all the difference. I visited my parents every other weekend. The conversations were often difficult, peeling back layers of hurt and misunderstanding. My father, aware that his time was limited, was desperate to make amends. My mother vacillated between overwhelming guilt and attempts to justify their past actions. We were wrong, my father told me during one visit as we sat in the garden I had helped restore. But I need you to understand that we truly believed what Sophia told us. It was not that we loved you less or trusted you less inherently. We were manipulated by someone who knew exactly how to play on our fears and weaknesses. That is what makes it so hard to move forward, I admitted. You were so easily convinced that I would betray you. After 23 years of being your daughter, all it took was one planted piece of evidence to erase your faith in me. These conversations were painful but necessary. Slowly, I began to understand the web of manipulation Sophia had woven over years and how my parents had fallen victim to it. It did not excuse their actions, but it helped me make sense of them. As my father's condition deteriorated, our focus shifted from the past to making the most of the time we had left. I brought photo albums from my life during our years apart, sharing stories of my struggles and triumphs. He shared his regrets and his pride in the woman I had become despite everything. You found your strength, he told me one afternoon, his voice weak but his eyes clear. Maybe you always would have, but I am sorry it had to be this way. The house was another matter entirely. It was underwater on the mortgage after the money Sophia had taken, and the bank was threatening foreclosure. After much consideration, I decided to pay off enough of the debt to allow my parents to stay in their home, but with the agreement that the house would eventually be sold to repay me. My mother struggled with this arrangement, seeing it as further proof of their failure. "We should be helping you buy your first home, not the other way around," she lamented. "Life did not turn out the way any of us expected," I told her. "We can only deal with what is not what should have been." 3 months after our reunion, my father's health took a sharp decline. I arranged to work remotely and moved temporarily into my old bedroom to help my mother with his care. It was surreal sleeping in the space that held so many memories, both cherished and painful. One night, as I sat with my father during one of his increasingly frequent periods of wakefulness, he asked about Michael. "You love him," he observed. It was not a question. "I do," I confirmed. "He has been incredibly supportive through all of this." "Bring him to meet us," my father requested. "Before I go, I want to meet the man who stood by my daughter when I failed to." I hesitated, protective of Michael and our relationship. "Are you sure it might be awkward?" "It will definitely be awkward," my father agreed with a weak smile. "But it is important. Please." I relented, and the following weekend Michael came to dinner. True to my father's prediction, it was initially uncomfortable, but Michael's natural warmth and genuine interest in getting to know my parents eased the tension. By the end of the evening, they were exchanging stories about me finding common ground in their shared affection for the same person. As Michael prepared to leave, my father asked for a moment alone with him. I was nervous about what might be said, but Michael assured me it would be fine. Later, he told me that my father had thanked him for loving me and asked him to promise to always believe in me even when evidence suggested otherwise. "I told him that was the easiest promise I would ever make," Michael said, holding me close. 2 weeks later, my father passed away peacefully in his sleep. Despite our complicated history, the grief I felt was overwhelming. We had only had a few months to begin healing 8 years of estrangement. There was so much left unsaid, so many moments that could never be recovered. The funeral was small, attended by a few family friends and distant relatives. I delivered the eulogy, speaking honestly about a complicated man who had made significant mistakes but had also loved deeply and sought redemption at the end of his life. My father taught me many things, I said, looking out at the sparse gathering. Some lessons were intentional, others came through painful experience. But perhaps the most important thing I learned from him was that it is never too late to acknowledge truth, to seek forgiveness, and to try to make things right. His courage in facing his mistakes in his final months gave us both a chance at peace that might otherwise have been lost forever. In the days following the funeral, as we sorted through my father's belongings, my mother handed me a sealed envelope with my name written on it, in my father's shaky handwriting. "He asked me to give you this after he was gone," she explained. Alone in my old room, I opened the letter with trembling hands. "My dearest Juliana, by the time you read this, I will be gone. There are no words adequate to express my regret for the years we lost, for the pain I caused you by failing to trust in the daughter I raised. I can only hope that these past few months have shown you how deeply I love you and how proud I am of the woman you have become. You rebuilt your life from ashes, creating success and finding love when it would have been easier to let bitterness consume you. That strength of character is a testament to who you truly are. I know your mother will need time to fully come to terms with everything that happened. Please be patient with her if you can. The guilt she carries is enormous. As for Sophia, I pray that someday she will find the help she needs to face her own demons. Her actions were unforgivable, but she remains my daughter, as do you. The difference is that you have shown me what true integrity looks like even in the face of terrible injustice. The ring that should have been yours is gone, but I leave you something more valuable, my complete faith in you, which should never have wavered, and my unconditional love, which was always yours, even when I failed to show it. Live well, my Julie. Create beauty in the world as only you can, and know that wherever I am watching over you with pride and love. Dad. Tears streamed down my face as I read his final words to me. The letter did not erase the pain of the past, but it offered a kind of closure I had not realized I needed. In the months that followed, my relationship with my mother evolved into something new. Not the uncomplicated bond of my childhood, but a more honest connection between two women who had experienced profound loss and were trying to find their way forward. I returned to my life in the city, to my business and my relationship with Michael, but maintained regular contact with my mother. We were both working with therapists separately and occasionally together to process our complicated family history. When Michael proposed 6 months after my father's death, my mother was one of the first people I called with the news. Her genuine joy for me was another small step in our healing journey. "Your father would have been so happy," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "He always hoped you would find someone worthy of you." As for Sophia, we received occasional cryptic messages from different phone numbers and email addresses. She was apparently moving from place to place, always one step ahead of the consequences of her actions. I felt a complex mix of anger, pity, and a distant sadness for the sister I had once loved and lost long before the incident with the ring. On the 1-year anniversary of my father's death, my mother and I met at his grave. We stood side by side, placing flowers and sharing memories. "I have been thinking about selling the house," she said as we walked back to our cars. "It is too big for just me, and it holds too many painful memories." "Are you sure?" I asked, surprised by the sudden decision. She nodded. "It is time for a fresh start. Something smaller, something that is just mine." She paused. "I was thinking of moving closer to you, if that would be all right." The question held so much vulnerability, so much awareness of the boundaries that still existed between us. "I think that could be good," I said carefully. "We could see each other more easily." Her smile was tentative but hopeful. "That is what I was thinking too." As we parted ways that day, I reflected on the journey we had all taken. The pain of betrayal and abandonment would always be part of my story, but it no longer defined me. I had built a life filled with love, purpose, and success. I had learned to set boundaries without building walls. I had discovered the strength to offer compassion without sacrificing self-respect. There are wounds that never fully heal, scars that remain tender to the touch, but I had learned to live with them, to integrate them into the person I had become. My family story did not have a perfect ending with all conflicts resolved and all hurts mended. Instead, it had a human ending, complex and imperfect, with some relationships lost forever and others cautiously rebuilt on new foundations of truth and respect. Through it all, I discovered that the most important relationship to repair was the one with myself, learning to trust my own worth regardless of others' perceptions or judgments. That was the true healing, the phoenix rising from the ashes of betrayal to create something new and strong and beautiful. Have you ever had to rebuild trust after a deep betrayal? What helped you move forward? Share your experiences in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share with someone who might need to hear that healing is possible even after the deepest wounds. Thank you for listening to my journey, and remember that your story is still being written with new chapters of strength and resilience waiting to unfold.